Welcome back, Middle Age Grind, and I want to follow up on a video I did a few days ago, and it was how to be a millionaire, race to get $100,000 invested. And I want to share, I finished this book, and I always like giving credit, The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, and I mentioned this before, and there's a punch list here, and if you recall from the previous video, there's three main points to his philosophy, okay? And I'm not saying 100% of it's right, but if you stick to it, you're going to be pretty well off. And there's a punch list here that kind of delves a little bit into each of them. And the three topics are spend less than you make, spend less than you earn, invest the difference, and broad-based index low-cost funds. And the third thing is to avoid debt, okay? So he delves a little bit into this. There's a punch list, and I want to kind of dive into that here. So in the spend less than you earn, number one, save a portion. He used 50%, and that's going to be controversial, meaning that if he made $10,000, he saved $5. If he made $100, he saved $50,000. Say I use 50% of every dollar you earn or otherwise comes your way. The beauty of a high savings rate is twofold. You learn to live on less than you earn, and you have more to invest. And he says that's the biggest pushback he probably gets out of any of his work. There's some people say, well, that's just so unobtainable, that's just ridiculous. Who can save 50%? And other people say, that's ridiculously low. I live on 20% of what I make, and I put away 80%. And he does have a very good point. The earlier in life you try to accomplish this, meaning that let's say you're just out of college, and you get your first job and you're making 50, 60K, it's a lot easier to save that 30. In that example, let's say you're making 60 and you're kind of still living like a college student, then you're my age and you have a bigger income, obviously, but you have a family and kids. It's something you're going to have to learn how to adjust a little bit more than likely. And it's like anything, the 50% is a number he used that gave him agency in his life. The more you do, the quicker you're going to be to financial independence. The less you do, the longer it's going to take. And he has a good point that somebody else said they wish they would have saved a little bit less and enjoyed life a little bit more. So there is a balance to this, guys. You got to enjoy life a little bit at the same time investing for your future. Number two, you own the things you own, but in turn they own you. Okay, and what he means by that is cars, homes, boats, there's maintenance required with those type of things. It's not just a buy at one time and the expenses go away. Money can be many things, but nothing more valuable than your freedom. And when you invest when you put money away, you're slowly buying your freedom to do what you want to do, okay? If your lifestyle matches or, God forbid, exceeds your income, you are no more than a gilded slave. And I think we know a lot of people like that spend every dime they make and more. Avoid fiscally irresponsible people. Never marry one or otherwise give them access to your money. And there's just some people, I think everyone is capable of change, but you got to be really careful with that. Life choices are not always about the money, but you should be always clear about the financial impact about the choices you make, okay? And then that goes into spending on less than you earn. Invest in the surplus. Invest what you save. The greater the percentage of your income, the sooner you'll have FU money. And FU money to him just meant that he didn't have to survive in a soul-crushing job at any point in his life. Not necessarily he was financially independent, but he took sabbaticals, meaning that his savings rate was so high to where if he lost a job, he could wait 6 months and go get another one because his savings rate was very, very high. The stock market is a powerful wealth building tool in which you should be investing. That goes without saying. S&P 500 over the past 50 years, average rate of return right over 12%. Not guaranteed, not investing advice, but with all the highs and lows, you think from 1975 to now, all the stuff that's happened in the world. Average over 12%. Okay. Understand the market and the value of your shares will sometimes drop dramatically. Nobody can predict the market drops when they will happen, even though the media is filled with noise who claim they can. And yeah, there's entire business channels that are just related to on a daily basis on market and this and what made it go up and down. Guys, they don't know. They really don't. Ignore the drops and buy more shares. This will be much, much harder than you think. People all around you will panic. The news media will be screaming, sell, sell, sell. He makes a very good point. So in most 10-year periods, if you take 85 to 95 or whatever, okay, the market has gone up. There are some times where it has not. An example he uses, from 2000 to 2010, the market was down, okay, on average like 1.2% per year. Now, if you were in retirement, you would have had to maybe do some things, bonds, fixed income. But if you were a young person saving, and if you were consistently investing during that time, it probably made you a millionaire by now because you were buying shares of equities at rock bottom prices. And that does happen. And when you're in the working phase of your life, you got to look at that, even though it's so hard to do, as opportunities, And he has a famous quote. He says, what decides if you're going to be wealthy or left on the side of the road bleeding is whether you get out in a market crash. Okay? Very, very important. And avoid investment advisors. Too many have only their own interest at heart. And this goes into the whole low-cost index funds that every brokerage house offers now. And let me give you an example. If you're paying someone to manage your money, okay, 1% of the value, and I'm going to give you an example here. Let's just say for intents purposes, that's $1 million. Let's say you got $1 million portfolio. And you have someone managing that. And keep in mind, in a 30-year period, managed money 99% of the time does not beat the return of the S&P 500. Okay? So that 1% example, if you have $1 million, all right, you're paying your investment advisor $10,000 a year, okay, just to manage your money. Let's say you want to live off that 4%. That's $40,000 a year, okay, you can take out. Well, 10,000 of it is going strictly to your advisor. So basically the money you want to live off of, that's 25% of your income. That's insane. A low-cost broad-based index fund is probably going to be from 0.03 to 0.05%. So in that same example, $1 million, instead of $10,000, it's way less, whatever that number is. It might be $500, okay? And if you're getting roughly the same returns, why are you going to give someone that much money? And the more money you have in a $3 million example, that could be $30,000 a year, all right? And that's a lot of money, guys, to be given to a financial advisor, right? And he puts, by the time you know enough to pick a good advisor, you probably know enough to handle your finances yourself. It's your money, and no one will care for it better than you. And he does go into, and look, I'm in the insurance industry. There's tax professionals. There's different types of legal advisors that you're probably going to need in your life. He has a CPA, so do I. He has an insurance professional. I am one. In the investment world, there's a saying, returns are inconsistent, fees are constant. And then when you have those high fees, it really can eat into a portfolio over a long period of time. And here he puts, when you can live off of 4% of your investments per year, you are financially independent. And I'll give you that example. Let's say you need $40,000 a year to live on. Well, you would need $1 million invested. That's 4%. And just up the math. If you need $80,000, You need $2 million to be financially independent. Roughly 25 times, it is 25 times of your annual spending. And you need to know how much money you spend to live, guys. That's something you have to know. And the last point of here is carrying debt is as appealing as being covered with leeches and has as much effect of the same. Take out your sharpest knife and start scraping away the little bloodsuckers off. Yet debt is just something, at all this and his thing, save 50% of what you make, invest the difference. Do not go into debt, guys. Do not go into debt if you don't have to. You will have to probably. Home purchases, even maybe cars, that kind of thing. Do whatever you can to get those things paid down. But this is just a toolkit here on a punch list of his book, and I highly recommend the read. It's a very good read. I kind of get into this. I have a little points thing on my Amazon account. I got this book for free with my points, and he has a second book. I'm reading it now. Just started last night, called Pathfinders. And it's stories, I think, of about 100 different people who followed his plan in different walks of life, and how they did it and what they do and how they live. Pretty cool, and I'll share that with you. But I wanted to share that with you today. And good stuff. Good stuff. Hopefully my kids absorb this one day. And I like the points he makes. Money isn't everything, but it's a lot. And if you can get it right early on and just put this stuff on autopilot, and your life will be a lot easier going forward. And with that said, I'll see you real soon on the Middle Age Grind.